Hello, I am Mamadou Gajaga and welcome to Qsports. Thank you for joining us this evening. We have a very entertaining show for you tonight. Stay tuned. Joining me is BBC Africa's sports contributor and CAF online correspondent Mamadou Ba, and communication specialist, former BBC presenter Ade Drame, and he is currently head of QTV News, joining me in the studio. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thanks for having me.
Mamadou, how has it been for you over the weekend?
It has been great. Coincided with the finals of the Africa Cup of Nations, the 32nd edition, the biggest AFCON in history, the expanded 24-nation AFCON. So it was great, and Algeria at the end were crowned champions after impressing over the last 4 weeks in Egypt.
And Ade, how was your weekend like?
For me, it was having withdrawal symptoms because I'd enjoyed the whole competition so much that I almost did not want it to end. And so come the weekend, I was looking forward to the next match. And of course, there wasn't a next match.
It was a fantastic evening of football. And Mr. Ade Drame, I was with you at Westfield Youth Monument watching the match. And it was crazy atmosphere. Let's have a watch of how the scene unfolded at the Westfield Youth Monument.
And it pits together Senegal, the West African giants, and the North Africans of Algeria.
Absolutely exciting atmosphere here at Westfield Youth Monument. Senegalese supporters, and probably maybe some of them might be supporting Algeria. It's the big final, the Africa Cup of Nations 2019 final in Egypt. Senegal takes on Algeria.
The atmosphere is buzzing. It is absolutely electric. You could power the whole of Gambia and probably the whole of Senegal with the electricity that we're feeling here today.
Absolutely buzzing. This is Qsports here at the Youth Monument in Westfield.
They've scored 12 goals in total. Oh, now they're moving into a good attacking position. There's a shot that's coming in there from Bounedjah. And, well, this is absolutely incredible. This is absolutely incredible. Did you see what happened there? The deflection's taken the ball into the back of the net. It's absolute madness that's taken. Absolutely incredible. This is absolutely incredible. Did you see what happened there? The deflection. Into the game, and we've already got a goal, and the Senegal team has just been completely silenced.
Algeria 1, Senegal 0. How would you describe the first half of this Africa Cup of Nations final?
Well, quite pulsating, I have to say. Sometimes it is said that an early goal can make a final. Sometimes an early goal can break a final, because sometimes the team conceding the early goal can wilt under the pressure of having conceded that early goal. However, after taking about 10 or so minutes to recover, Senegal came much more into the game. Having said that, it was only until the 27th minute that they had their first shot on target. So they need to do much more than they've done so far.
Wow, sama gis-gis gaynde ñu ngi koy defee ni mu waree ay na bal mystique mooy ñëw gars yi score leen second center gars yi score leen for goal.
waaw yow yaakaar nga ne team Sénégal bi mun nañoo génnee goal bi si sa kon affaire ndax mun nañ koo gagné sax.
waaw am naa ci yaakaar bu baax a baax dañ koy génne ba defal leen 1-0 dañ koy génne ba dóor leen 2-1 waaw am naa ci yaakaar bu baax a baax xale yi li ma gis ñuy football xam naa bu baax a baax ni xale yi mun nañoo génne goal bi ba yokkal gars yi.
yow sénégalais nga bu dëkk Gambie wala.
man Sénégambie laa.
29 years. Algeria are the 2019 African champions.
It all ended on big disappointment for Senegal.
Total deflation for the Senegal fans who were here tonight. They came with great expectations, as did the Senegal team into the final match. But one has to say they did not rise to the occasion.
It's quite an electric atmosphere at Westfield Youth Monument. Mamadou, where did you watch the Africa Cup of Nations finals between Algeria and Senegal?
Yeah, I was at Bundung at a friend's house to watch the final, which we were all looking forward to, given that many, like me, had said during the tournament that these two teams were the strongest teams. They had the strongest squads, and of course, given their display over the course of the tournament, I think they deserve to be in the final. So I was there in Bundung, and of course, at the end, the team that I tipped to win the tournament prior to kickoff, deservedly, were crowned champions. That is Algeria.
You think Algeria really deserved to be champions, even though Senegal played better in terms of possession and they created more chances?
Well, in the final, Senegal had more chances, shots on target, but overall, I think generally, I think Algeria had the best squad. You're looking at the entire squad. They had options from the bench. They were not only relying on the 11 that were starting the games. You have players like Unas, who could come off the bench and of course had an impact. He already had 3 goals, and of course he came from the substitute bench. So when you look at Senegal, that's a different case. Mbaye Niang was not firing the goals. Mbaye Dieng was who came into the tournament on the back of having a successful season in Turkey with 30 league goals, but yet still he couldn't score. Moussa Konate of Amiens as well was there, but he had little a chance to play. So I think generally I feel Jamel Belmadi's side were the strongest of the 24 nations that qualified, and of course I feel given their display, the way that they played, and of course for me I definitely believe that they deserve to be champions. It would have been really it would have been bad if Algeria were to lose the final, given their performance in the previous matches.
It must be so painful for Senegal, knowing that this is their second Africa Cup of Nations finals. The last time they had such an achievement was in 2002 when they played against Cameroon, and in the penalty shootouts they lost to Cameroon. It could be quite a blow for Aliou Cissé and his team.
Well, even before the final, I had interviews that he had with the BBC before the tournament. He said that he's here to win the trophy, because 17 years ago he was one of the players. He was the captain. He missed the penalty, and then they lost to the Indomitable Lions. And now leading the team, qualifying them to the World Cup, and now to the Nations Cup, qualifying to the finals. He was looking forward to winning Senegal their first AFCON, but. I feel they should be proud of their performance, their overall campaign, because it is work in progress. Yes, they have a strong squad. You look at Sadio Mane, Kalidou Koulibaly. These are highly rated players that could be in the top 10 best players in the world. But yet still, I feel Algeria had the better squad. They played as a team, and of course, when they needed to grind out results, they were able to grind out results. And of course, they did that twice against Senegal.
Well, Adedrame, did Senegal had a nervy moment to the start of the game? The goal actually came fairly too early.
It came way too early, 1 minute and 16 seconds or something like that. And I might take issue regarding whether Algeria deserved to win. Yes, I know on paper they had the strongest squad, but really they won with a fluke goal. And Senegal, for their part, actually had several instances when they could have made better use of the ball. They certainly squandered every set piece that they had. Every corner seemed to go straight into the goalkeeper's hands. They were their own worst enemies. So even though territorially they had the upper hand on Algeria, I think they didn't press Algeria enough. They didn't extend them. I mean, Algeria actually in the end felt fairly comfortable in a sense. So in that sense, maybe they deserved to win. But I think Senegal really did not rise to the occasion. And you say nerves, it could have been nerves, but several of their players did not play to their best or to what we would have expected of them. And so from that aspect, I think, to me, kind of football romantic, I guess, I was almost hoping they'd equalize and it would go to extra time and who knows, even penalties. But I think that would have been a better than to see a final won with what was a completely freak goal, really. It was, slightly undeserved. I think a final deserves a better goal than that. You want to see somebody hit it from 40 yards into the top corner, but not that kind of, almost comical goal that won the final. The competition itself deserved better, and the final deserved better. Yeah.
Was it a tactical game of a final on the night. We've seen for the Algerians, despite not pushing hard Senegal, but after the goal, they put up a very strong tactic to make sure that they seal the victory.
And to me, you've actually, the T word, tactics, and I think that's where Aliou Cissé fell down. There was no sense that he was actually changing his tactics to cope with the fact that Algeria seemed quite content to rely on the one goal, and he didn't seem to do anything or make any formational changes that would have changed the game. None of that happened, and I kept thinking, you know, when's he going to do something, you know, move somebody here, move somebody there. You know, it was only one goal that they needed to get, and they had 88 minutes to try and get it, and really they never looked like getting it, as I said, despite the territorial advantage they had. And so I would have loved to have seen some tactical changes by him, and some formation changes that would have made an impact and changed the course of the game, but it never came.
Going forward, looking at this Senegalese team, do you think in 5, in 10 years, they would have such an opportunity? It took them 17 years to reach here.
One can never predict with football. You and I are old enough to be amazed at the fact that Leicester City won the Premier League. The year before they won it, if you'd said they were going to win the Premier League, you would have been laughed out of town. So football is unpredictable, and we could sit here and make predictions about what would happen with this Senegal team. They're young. They're a young team. They've got only 2 years to try and redress this. And I have to say that having watched all 6 hours of them arriving back in Senegal, when the whole nation seemed to have turned out to greet them, they were greeted as if they were conquering heroes. And of course, they'd already printed banners saying, you know, CAF Champions 2019. You couldn't take that away. But I think the public realizes and celebrated the effort that they put in. And, you know, they're a fairly young team. They could come again. But really and truly, you have to take your chance when it comes. You miss it, it's gone. You know, Liverpool several times in trying to win the Premier League in England came this close, a minute away, and they always said, oh, next year we'll do it. They've been waiting 30 years to do it next year. It hasn't come. So when you have the chance, you seize it, or it's gone.
Mamadou, do you agree with what Adi Dramé said about Senegal, or do you have a different opinion?
Yeah, absolutely. I think going forward, they have a young squad. They presented one of the youngest squads at the tournament, and then you look at the players like Mane, Koulibaly. They are in their mid-20s, so they still have another 10 years to go to play at this level. And of course, the next tournament, the qualifier starts in less than 3 months. So they don't have enough time. So they are coming back straight. In November, they are back in the qualifiers, trying to qualify for Cameroon 2021. They are in a favorable draw group, which has teams like Congo, Brazzaville. Given their ranking, they will definitely have teams that are in the lower echelons of the ranking. So, but yes, still as he said. I've watched Senegal in the past 4 years qualifying for the World Cup, their home matches. I've watched all their home matches in Dakar, and of course qualifying for the last 2 AFCONs. I've watched most of their home matches in qualifying. But for me personally, I think the problem with the Senegalese team is the coach. I think the coach is not at the level of the players at his disposal. So going forward, would they take the big decision of...
But Mamadou, how could you say that when you look at Aliou Cissé in his qualification?
But
in taking them to the World Cup, how do you justify that?
Given the matches that they lost, I think it's based on few details, and of course you needed a top coach, you know, to address those details, and of course. Before the tournament, I was saying, I was chatting with colleagues. I told them, Senegal, I really like the team, the way they are set up, but I feel when they play against the big guns of African football, they will always fail. And of course, I think I was vindicated against Algeria. Algeria did not play really well, but Algeria scored the goal, knew what they had already, the advantage, and of course, they were trying to press Senegal, go back, trying to bring you know, the antics of football, delaying time, and of course harassing the Senegalese players. And of course, Senegal did not have the plan B to cope with the pressure coming from Algeria. So for me, I think he has done well. But I think given now coaches like Hervé Renard have resigned, maybe the Senegalese authorities might be looking, now this is the chance to have a coach who knows how to win the Africa Cup of Nations, who is available, and maybe if they propose to him, he might accept the offer.
God forbid. I'm sorry. I take a completely different. I think we have to stop signing these European coaches who can't make it in Europe and come to Africa, and we laud them. all of the ones who've won with teams, they've won because they've got a good team. I mean, somebody who's taken Senegal to the World Cup, he's taken them to being Africa's top team in the FIFA rankings, and he's taking them to the final. How anybody could say that person is a failure is beyond me. I'm sorry. That is, I just don't get it. That is not. It's Ali used to say we should give him the chance to actually go again with this team. They're a young team, as you rightly say, but to say that somehow he's a failure or he's not at the level of the players at his disposal, if he's never given that opportunity, then he'll never get it. We will give it to every Frenchman who probably coached a second division team in France, but we won't give it to an African player. And so I'm glad that, in the case of Algeria, they had, a home coach. So for me, it was great that you had two coaches from the country that actually they had represented, taking their nations to the final. We need to give African coaches the opportunity. Otherwise, they'll never get it. We'll always say that, they're not good enough because their players play for Liverpool, Manchester United and Barcelona and such like.
Guys, it has been a heated debate here inside the studio, but let's see what people have been talking about on social media. And we'll be back. Welcome back. Meanwhile, back home, Marrakech secured a place into the finals of the Combo Central 2 district competition after winning by 2-0 against Mandouar, while it was a stalemate in the women's category. I still have my studio guest, Mamadou Ba and Ade Drame. What do you make about female football in Africa? Gambia in particular, it has been at the lowest level in terms of infrastructural development, the female game. Not many people turn out in their numbers to watch female football matches. Is it because they're not interested, or is it because the game is not entertaining enough?
Well, I think the game is really entertaining. I've covered so many matches in the female league, both in the first division and of course the second division. There are no shortage of goals, which is really exciting in any football match. But as not only in the Gambia, but all over the world, women's football is not given the concentration that it deserves. More so, football federations, football associations tend to concentrate more in the men's game, which is not only in Gambia, but we've seen that in the past 4 years, the women's game in the country has really had a new facelift. The federation has increased the teams, and of course now they're playing both in the league and of course in the FF Cup. So at least the competition is now coming. We would say in the Gambia is only 2 teams that are winning the trophy, that is Red Scorpions and Interior. Those are the 2 teams that are sharing the League One and of course the FF Cup, but yet still I've seen teams like Abuko United, you see like teams like Kintes in the second division who have gained promotion now to the first division have been really doing well. So for me it's not all bad, but I think the women's game needs more support financially, but the teams need to be encouraged to make sure that they have better players that will come into the coaching. But for me, I think, I think Gambia is doing well compared to other countries, because even though we have only 6 teams in the league, you look at other countries who don't even have a functioning league. But yet still Gambia continue to make sure that the league is on, and of course you have both the first division and of course the second division.
The other problem about the Gambia's league is only 6 teams that are competing in the women's first division league, and it's not competitive enough when they played in the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers in the women's series, although they were knocked out by the African champions, Nigeria, who eventually won the Women AFCON. But it's going to be very tough looking at the way they play. Adam Atamba scoring 50 goals a season. That's quite not good football.
Well, it depends on how you look at it. But as I said, that is one problem. But as I said, the women's game needs more encouragement to make sure that people to invest in teams. But you only have 6 teams in the first division, and of course 6 in the second division. That tells you a lot. But for me, I think comparing Gambia and of course other countries, I think we are work in progress.
Mr. Drame, the men's game is struggling in terms of funding.
Yeah.
And in terms of infrastructural development and even capacity of coaches.
Of course.
So putting money into women's football.
Well, I think one of the things that they could do is do what is happening more and more in Europe. Manchester United now have a women's team, and this week Real Madrid announced that for the first time they're going to have a women's team. I think if some of the men's teams actually adopted or started a women's team, then I think we'll see it. But also I think it needs to be a process where you have a feeder system. So there should be women's football right the way through to schools, secondary schools. And so there's kind of feeder clubs that go into the professional games, and then you'll get more and more clubs. So I think the combination of things, a kind of root and branch reorganization of the women's game, increase it to more than 6 teams. Otherwise, we're always going to struggle to compete against, the sort of bigger nations. But then I think, as I've mentioned also, I think the men's teams, if they adopted and each one had a women's team, I think, first of all, the supporters of that men's team will probably also get behind, because I bet you when the women's team for Manchester United step out at Old Trafford, Manchester United fans are going to turn out to support. And if we had a similar situation here, where each men's team, Walidan or whoever, have a women's team, then I think that will help, and it certainly needs to happen.
We're going to continue this debate some other time, but we will never end the debate between the women's game and the men's game. Which one should have more support? We will take a short break. When we come back, we will continue.
It is the new era in broadcasting. We showed it to you with our continuously improving content. With thousands of viewers around the world, now, how do you take advantage of our existing and constantly increasing viewership? Advertise with QTV and reach a large audience. Call us on 3244 or email marketing@qtv.gm. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter or Instagram. QTV Gambia. QTV, a new era in broadcasting.
On to our next story. Moroccan coach Javier Renard has controversially stepped down or has been fired as the coach of the Atlas Lions after a shock elimination at the Africa Cup of Nations. Well, Mamadou, Javier Renard is a coach who has already had success with 2 African teams, Zambia and Ivory Coast to be precise. He won the AFCON with them. But how did things go wrong for him in Morocco?
I think they had a good start during the AFCON, winning the first 3 matches, and then bang, Benin, the Squirrels of Benin were there, who scored a delightful goal. Morocco found a way of getting back into the game, equalizing, and then they were awarded a last gasp penalty. Hakim Ziyech back on from a successful European campaign with Ajax, winning the double in Holland, reaching the semi-finals of the Champions League. So much was expected of him. He had the ball 12 yards from goal, and then he couldn't beat the Benoit goalkeeper. Then to extra time, penalties, they lost, and then the coach last week had meetings with the FA president, and then I was following his tweets on his official Twitter account. He said the Moroccan media were already speculating. They were already reporting that he has resigned or been given the boot, but he came out with a statement saying that he had a meeting with Fawzi Lakjak, who is the FA president, also one of the CAF vice presidents. He said they had a meeting, but the meeting is between the two parties, that is him and of course the FA president. And then just a few days ago, he announced that he is leaving the post. But something interesting from his statement is that he had already taken the decision that the AFCON was going to be his last tournament with the Lions of Morocco. But for me, I think that was just a cover-up, because I couldn't see why he was going to leave a team like Morocco had he won the Nations Cup or even reached the last four. So for me, that comes. For me, my opinion was he was given the boot because so much was expected.
But they always make it nice.
Yeah.
If somebody leave a particular team or a club, they would say
mutual
through
consent,
mutual consent, and that has always been the famous word.
Yeah, I think we had I had the same problem with former Gambia coach Raul Savoy.
I could remember him calling you a liar.
So when he lost the job, I reported that he was fired, but he was not happy with my choice of words. But mutual consent, living through. I think it's all comes down to one thing, that the objective he failed to achieve
the objective.
The target.
Exactly.
And so the consequence was that he has to leave. So, but for me, I think he's a top coach, but he failed to take Morocco to the dreamland that was winning them the Nations Cup, because he has done really well. Morocco are one of the top teams in Africa now, and of course, when he took up the job, Morocco were really struggling.
Yes, Mr. Drame, what do you make of
I mean, Hervé Renard, we also had with Clarence Seedorf at Cameroon. He was sacked. They didn't even mince their words. He was fired. I mean, and Cameroon, of course, are hosting the next one. In terms of Hervé Renard, I think his position became untenable, the fact that they lost to Benin.
I'm afraid we'd have to move on. Finally, maybe a rather bizarre story. A Gambian player who has a big dream of playing professional football. Alpha Jallo is his name, and he was going to sign for a Turkish club. But guess what happened? Within 24 hours after signing his contract, 2-year contract to be precise, he was just told by the team that, you know what, it was a case of mistaking identity. And this player, instead of continuing his contract at the Turkish club, he was told, we are ending the contract here. They mistaked him for a Gambian player who plays in the Italian second division, Lamine Jallo. Mamadou, you've been following Gambian football and you've reported on it quite extensively. This is something that is unheard of. No one has ever heard of this before. At least for me, this is the first time.
I think the same case with me as well. So when I saw the news, I was said, wow, how could they mistake Lamine Jallo for Alpha Jallo? Even the appearance are not the same. But it was really a big story online. So many people couldn't believe that a team in the Turkish second division could mistake the player that they watched, potentially scouted, and yet still went on and signed a different player.
But how on earth would the team sign a player without watching his matches, or probably known his agent and knowing, in which league does he play?
Well, I don't know, because normally I know if they had interest in Lamine Jallo, who plays in the Italian Serie B, who had a good campaign. And of course, he was one of the key players for the Scorpions in qualifying the last campaign. So I cannot really get it still now why the team mistake Alpha for Lamine Jallo. So the blame has to go to the team.
So you blame the team in this one, but I'm afraid this is all that we have time for. And thank you very much for watching Qsports. Until we come your way next week, keep on sporting, and bye for now.